Hey, I'm Derek.
And I'm Noah, and you're listening to A Bite of.
Where we take our current favorite pop culture obsession and enjoy it one nibble at a time.
I was being quiet because of clickers, you know.
I was being biting like clickers.
They more transfer their tendrils.
They still do a little biting, though. Yum, yum, yum.
All right, we are second episode into The Last of Us. Oh, man. It was an interesting one. Quicker than the first one, but I'm very excited to talk about it.
Agreed. I do have one general statement that is not the way to end your weekend going into the work week with these like
Why not?
very sad, depressing, stress-filled episodes.
That's how Game of Thrones was for
I know,
years.
it's terrible. It's like HBO's like, when can we make people feel worst? I know, Sunday nights.
That's how HBO functions. They're like, what is the most spiritually, hard, depressing types of shows that we can do?
You're so tired, not looking forward to the next morning. I know what we'll put on.
Before we get into this episode that we're clearly excited to talk about, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and all the socials at A Bite of Pod. All the links are down below in the show notes /description. You can find them all there. If you like our show, you can support our show. Join our Patreon. Bonus stuff, all that great stuff. Again, in the show notes. Last but not least, subscribe, rate, and review. Yeah, done.
All right. Time for a look back at The Last of Us Episode 1, When You're Lost in the Darkness. In 2003, Sarah tries to get her father, Joel, to celebrate his birthday.
Stop.
Sad.
Do we have to talk about this again?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm setting it up. It's terrible. After a less than eventful day at school, she wakes up in the middle of the night to find herself alone and the neighbor's dog scratching at her window. Her once wheelchair-bound elderly neighbor has bitten her housemates and she charges after Sarah.
I think it was her kids.
Well, I was trying to figure it out. Like, are they both her kids? Was it like her daughter and the husband?
One of them,
Yeah,
for sure.
housemates was just a better. Caretakers? I don't know.
Rude.
Trying to escape the quickly spreading sickness in Austin, Sarah and Joel get to a military blockade where Sarah is shot and killed. In 2023, Joel is hardened, living in a quarantine zone in Boston, looking for a way to travel cross-country to get to his brother. He and his companion, Tess, begrudgingly agree to help transport a young girl named Ellie for the Fireflies. Their journey outside the walls of the QZ begins with Joel killing an armed guard and Ellie revealing she was bitten but is immune to the fungus.
Did he kill him?
Punched him real good in the face.
We'll never know if he killed him or not. I'm just going to say he didn't, but it's fine.
Either way, Ellie loved it.
All right. Spoilers ahead for the entire, so far, 2 episodes of The Last of Us and also the game. I've been trying not to go too far into the game, so I'm only going to really be talking about the game so far with the show.
You said game 3 times already.
The game is a thing.
4 times, including Game of Thrones, 5 times now.
That happened. You've been warned. Spoilers ahead.
All right. Let us officially take a bite of The Last of Us Episode 2, Infected.
That voice every time.
Infected.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on from that voice. This episode did another cold open. I'm like, if they continue to do these cold opens, I'm going to be very happy because, oh boy, does it set the tone for the episode you're about to see.
This cold open is great because in our first episode, they mention Jakarta. They mention Indonesia, right? Sort of in passing. We know that it seems like it started there, but this is letting us dive deeper into that.
Yeah, it's great. It's like that one, it's like quiet dread really the whole time, but then the end of it is just this like really explosive kind of ending to that to lead us into where we're going.
You know what I never want to be? the expert in something that's eating quietly in the back of a restaurant.
What expert would that be?
Now, I don't know what I would be, but in this, we have our expert who is just enjoying her lunch, and the
That's what I
military
meant.
comes
I'm
in.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I meant by the
I thought you were being facetious, like, well, what expert would you
No.
be? Fool.
In the back of a restaurant specifically, which one would you be? That's what I wanted to ask. The performance of this actor was great. I mean, they're just a professor that talks about fungus all the time, and they're the ones that have to confirm that this is something that is just gonna the world.
Yeah,
done.
I guess when the military comes to you and steals you from your lunch, you have to put on the biohazard suit and go into the room that they want you to see.
Alone.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you're feeling sick, just get out quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't even know how she walks in the room and she has to like unclick something, click something else. Then I'm like, she has more knowledge than I'll ever have for sure.
That's what you get for being a professor. You automatically know the hoses to connect to your suit.
That was something I was thinking about. I'm like, is she a professor or is she a doctor? I guess professors would do clinical. I don't know.
You could be both.
I guess.
Yeah.
They didn't call her doctor. She was like, give me the scalpel.
In reality, there's just a giant diorama on the wall that she was facing that says this hose to this, then this, then this.
Sure.
So we're just overthinking that.
Agreed. Definitely.
So we see that this specimen that she has to examine was once a human, but now it's human infected with fungus. And it has a bite mark on the leg and tendrils in the mouth.
I don't like these tendrils.
I really do. I love this change. I think it's so cool.
Oh, I'm saying that I like them for the story. I just think in real life they are very scary.
Yeah, that's why I like it. I like it more. I mean, the bite is fine and spores and stuff, but we've had enough masks. I think the tendrils are cool.
That's a good point.
They're very creepy. They're still alive, even though the host was dead.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? When we were talking about the cordyceps last week, that's what it does. It just infects the host and completely takes over their body.
Yeah.
Oof, and we're seeing that here.
Yeah, her having to talk to this authority figure of some sort. I don't know the military/official positions there. Her flat out just saying, just bomb the city. We need to cut it off. With what we know 20 years later, they did do that. Did it help? Maybe. But just to even see that the bombing didn't just take place in Indonesia, but also in the United States. We saw it in Boston in this episode. It didn't help. So, or at least that we could see. Infection still spread.
Yeah, it was such an interesting cold open, though, because it was so effective. And the way it ended, right, was her telling him, just bomb everyone. I want to go home, be with my family. We just see her start crying. And it's just such a lingering effect going into the episode.
Yeah.
That it wasn't this big action sequence. It wasn't this huge thing. It was just this quiet conversation that held such weight that it was like, damn, here we go.
Yeah, it mirrored the first one a little bit. It's like almost the precursor to it being like, this is a thing that could happen. It would hurt everything. This is a thing that is happening. It is going to kill everything. I'm curious what the next one is going to be. If they're going to stay to this formula, I would assume that there would be some cold opens. I have a feeling maybe since we're going to see Bill and Frank or Bill and the next one, if we're going to get his backstory in the beginning. And then the same thing with Riley. We know Riley is in the show in some point. So I feel like the cold opens might get a little closer to the now as opposed to flashing back. But I like them because they give us background that we didn't get in the game. And I think it's good to expand the lore for general audiences.
I agree. And I would personally like it if it stayed more in the past, like it has been doing. And even if it is someone else's backstory before we meet them, before Joel and Ellie meet them, I'm looking forward to that.
I am kind of sad there was no Jess. Jeez Louise. I was thinking Gilmore Girls. Tess. Same thing.
Yeah, Tess was an interesting character. I think just a 2-episode arc for the character. Like, we didn't really get a chance to know her. And I feel like they did more with Sarah for us to fall in love with Sarah than they did for Tess.
Yeah, you had to fall in love with Sarah. You
But
had to like get that moment to really propel the rest of the story and to be like, okay, nobody's safe.
No, I agree with that, but I feel like did we feel attached to Tess for her sacrifice to mean as much as it could have.
I feel like the reason for her was fulfilled, but I mean, I guess with any character that perishes very early in a series, there's always more that could have been there. But I think their purpose was fulfilled.
Totally. All right, but anyway, I skipped way ahead. So rewind.
You're like, you know what I want to talk about? The death scene in this episode.
Yeah. To the last moment of this episode. Anyway, rewind.
No, but I think it is a good point to just kind of go from there into this episode that, you know, Tess, we've seen 2 episodes so far with her. This is as much as really you get with her in the game as well. And I do wish there was more. But what we do get more in this episode is Ellie and Joel interacting, and they still don't like each other. From the moment she wakes up, after seeing him apparently just turn somebody's face to meat, he's like, I still don't trust you. Still pointing a gun at her. They're just watching her sleep.
It's the yang to the yang, man.
Oh my God.
They are too alike, and he just always has his defenses up, right?
Yeah.
He has his defenses up physically, he has it up emotionally. He's just not willing to let anyone in, which, you know, he has his reasons.
Yeah.
But
a lot of reasons.
I do. We get that beautiful shot of her. It almost looks like she's sleeping in a beautiful field.
Right? I posted about it, and I just love that picture.
It just kind of gave me like Rue vibes from Hunger Games.
No,
oh,
stop it.
Gosh.
Well, except Ellie doesn't die.
Right. Right. But still a young girl in a beautiful field of flowers. But it's hilarious that as they pull out, it's like the 2 adults are there. One of them has a gun pointed at them, and they're actually in a rundown beauty parlor.
Yeah. It's so good. The set design for this is the episode that we really get to see outside of the normal day-to-day that you would be in a QZ. It's great. I mean, I think some of the big shots, visual effects wise, it's like I can tell this is a green screen or a blue screen.
Totally.
Or the volume, whatever they're using nowadays. But it still looked really good because it's still a picture that they made. It looks just like the game. I do like this part as opposed to the game. In the game, it's night. It's dark. But we get this scene, them going to the Capitol building in the daylight, which I think was a smart thing to do for the show. So you can really see what the world looks like.
The destruction.
Yeah.
And I think that we're sort of mirroring Ellie in this, right? She even says, wow, this is the first time I've seen this, you know? And so we're also feeling that spectacle. I love to think of like the choreography or the blocking that goes into these scenes when there's like, you know, big piles of rubble and things like that, and things that they can't see and the trails that they have to take. So the work as far as the sets are concerned is really stellar. Yeah,
since they actually did bomb, and of course that the United States bombed itself as well, we see some of those craters there. I do have some issues with some buildings standing that are so close to the impact, but it's fine. Whatever. I'm not a bombologist.
Fair
I
enough.
don't know.
Give us the science, Mr. Bob. I also thought something that I really enjoyed about this is that a lot of the way it felt that it was shot, I almost felt like we were in the game again. Yeah. It feels similar to that truck scene in the first episode where it feels like we're walking along with them or we're looking at one of them as we're kind of traversing this terrain. So I like those decisions in the way that they're shooting the episodes.
It's third-person shooter's perspective.
Totally. Yeah, only there isn't a hand in front of us.
Yeah.
You know, when your own hand is in front of you in the game.
I hate that. The importance of this episode, I personally feel like, is showing how the infected operate, introducing us to one of the most terrifying types of infected, the clickers, and then also propelling the forced proximity / lone wolf and cub trope with Joel and Ellie. And the way that we get to find out about how these infected work, as opposed to in the game, they're all connected via a network of tendrils that are like wires that can span miles. I don't like that. That's awful. Even though it actually does happen, that is a thing. I don't want monsters that want to put the icky in my mouth that can sense me from a mile away. I don't want that.
That's what's so fun about this, though, isn't it? Is that, I mean, in this particular series, you know, if you think back at other zombie movies, right? In 28 Days Later, it's Rage.
Right.
In World War Z, I think it is some sort of virus or sickness.
100%.
But this one,
I think it was like a Ebola, right? A variation or something. I don't know. It was definitely a virus.
Yeah. But and of course, I don't know. In general zombie movies, it's like undead curse or something. I don't know. But here we have this infection of a quote zombie, even though they're not called that here, truly based in science, based in these root systems, based in this one particular fungus. And, you know, it is scary to think about.
They really did their homework a little too well, because just thinking back to the first episode when he was describing how this fungus, which is real, does operate. And if the conditions were right and it was able to evolve, it could easily survive within human hosts. I just don't, there's just some times where I don't want it to be that realistic. I want to suspend disbelief a little more.
You know
like, tell me it's like some butterfly dust that came from the moon, and I'm like, I'm still here.
When a butterfly winks at you under a full moon, oops, you're a zombie.
Infected. Stop saying zombie.
Well, not in the butterfly universe.
How dare you? No, they would be infected.
You go into a butterfly infected cocoon. Oh, beautiful.
No, oh my God.
Well, listen, if there's one thing about the cordyceps infected, it's that they're family. And they all work as a team.
Did you just Vin Diesel this podcast? Did you just
great
do that?
Philosophizer?
Oh my God.
Vin Diesel?
From what are those Fast and the Furious?
Which number, though? That's the question.
5 to 11. I don't know. One of those.
Are you even considering possibly one of the ones that isn't a number?
Tokyo Drift?
Tokyo Drift, yeah.
God. Oh my God. Anyway, away from Vin Diesel and back to Pedro Pascal.
Don't make me bring up the Iron Giant. Do you want to cry?
I do like that we get to see Tess and Joel's smuggling / root skills, because as Ellie is experiencing this and questioning why they said that there's infected running rampant, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, there is, but they're like, just don't go where they are and you're fine. But they have different routes, which is cool. They know where the Capitol building is. They know that they can either go the short way, which is the very dangerous way, which we will see, or the long way, but it's very safe. And also you get to meet the best character to ever be introduced, Piano Frog.
I love Piano Frog.
So why would I not want to play bellhop, meet Piano Frog, and go into this luxurious hotel?
Yeah, that frog said, "Ding-a-ding-ding, welcome to the infected hotel. We have a lobby pool for you here and skeletons floating for whatever you like. You can bring your own bags up. Thank you."
We see the infamous, as far as game players, we hear the line of Ellie saying, "I can't swim." And they find this out in like the sewers, which is like one of the worst possible situations. But I liked that through line. She cannot swim. I swear if they add more water to this show, I'm not going to like it.
That definitely seems like something you have to put a pin in, because at some point they're going to be in front of some water and we're all going to go, oh, crap.
Yeah. Ooh. The museum scene. Oh my God. It was so good. So for somebody that knows, I mean, you watched the game, right?
A good amount of it.
Oh, okay. So you already knew what the clickers were. You've already experienced them. I'm very curious. I want to know, like, from somebody that didn't know it prior, like, is it just as effective as somebody that kind of knows? Like, like I knew what to expect, and I love that they stuck the landing, but I think they're terrifying. But that's like my experience with them. I'm curious what the general audience would think. Comment below. Did you not play the game and you saw it and you're like, no, they're terrible?
Well, I mean, granted, I didn't fully play the game out and I thought that they were incredibly scary, but I could see someone who played the game feeling more anxious watching it, because you were the one that was in control for however many hours of gameplay.
There's a scene that was so real. So, by the way, this is Neil Druckmann's Drunkman. Oh my God.
Someone's a drunkman.
I keep calling him Drunkman. I don't know why, but it's his directorial debut for live action. Yeah, this is his episode that he directed.
That's why it looked like a video game.
Oh yeah, and so one of the moments where I was like, wait, who directed this? And it was him. There is a moment where they're in the museum and the clickers are fully aware of them being there, and Joel has to sneak behind one of the cabinets and reload his gun, with also being very quiet. Why he has a revolver, I don't know.
Because it's cool.
But that's how you felt in the game. You just didn't want to make any noise. You didn't want to do anything. And he's like trying to do it. Granted, the clicker eventually gets them, but that was just a cool detail, and especially for somebody that's like played the game. But you can tell how quiet he knew he had to be because they were terrified. They like to talk about how dangerous they are, but they're like, the clickers no.
Clickers no. And I like when he looks at Ellie and they're trying to be silent and he's trying to explain to her that they can't see, but they can hear you.
Yeah.
And I just feel like in that moment I would have been like, what? Repeat, you're whispering.
You got what in your eye? What?
But the tension was
so good.
Yeah.
There's something almost poetic about the setting where we're first introduced to this. So
America's history.
Yeah, in Boston. The museum, which is supposed to preserve the past, now is infested with the future.
He said, guess what? Metaphors. Guess what? Poetry on the screen. How about this, America?
I mean, right?
No, totally.
I will exit through the gift shop.
No, you can't exit nowhere. You got to run around and try not to hit any of the displays because then guess what? Those clickers are they jump, they run, they bite, they do whatever they want.
The movements of these people. So if you watch the very end, where inside the episode where the directors and creators get to talk about the show, it's so cool to find out that the people that were clickers were fans of the video game. And I just assume that they saw a casting where like they need infected people for this thing. They probably wrote an email to them and were like, look, I've obsessed with how to do the movements of these clickers. Here's a video of doing it. Let's do this.
My name is David Jenkins, and I am here for the role of clicker number 1. Watch this wrist action.
Oh, they were so good. The one moment where that clicker kind of throws his arms backwards.
It's the arms.
Yeah, it's just icky. It does give those vibes of being in a space where there's so much things could make noise. You're trapped and a thing is hunting you. It's a great trope. I think that it works every time, especially depending on the monster. This was good.
You know, there needs to be a zombie sneaky scene in some future project, maybe ours. They have a moment like this in an artisanal wind chime shop.
Absolutely not. It could be in like a, oh my God, I'm mentioning Gilmore Girls again, but the antique shop, an antique shop where anything can fall. Because it's all stacked on top of each other. Oh my
gosh, yes, Lane's mother's shop.
Wind chime shop is there a thing? Is there such a thing?
I don't know. It could be set in like some sort of like hippy dippy town or something like that.
It's like a desert gift shop.
Exactly.
Just wind chimes.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Although our protagonists can use the wind chimes to their advantage.
Yeah.
Right? Pick up a stone that says, don't worry, be happy, and you throw it at a bunch of them.
That is nice.
Right?
Yeah, that is nice. They the amount of shooting that they did towards these clickers, especially in this scene, I was like, please conserve your bullets and please aim more true. But it felt realistic. Yeah. It's just frantic and brutal. Panic. Oh, man.
But also, shush.
Yeah. No.
They're all connected. Don't they know their neighbors next door?
I'm not sure. But, I mean, well, so in the end scene, this is where I'm like kind of like confused, but I think they do explain it. So I guess let's lay it out. So before they go into the museum, Joel checks the fungus line, whatever
roots?
It is, tendrils. Roots, yeah.
Growth.
Those things. And it's not alive. It's dried out, can't be activated. But in one of the final scenes, we see that the dead bodies that are getting the fungus, it kind of connects to them through the ground. So I'm wondering if only those lines have to alert them of it. Like, I don't feel like a singular clicker could, right?
No,
that's how I took it. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. But
what is the science behind this telephone game?
Yeah, tell us more. Or are the clickers one specific type of the infected that maybe they're not connected in as big of groups?
Well, they're not connected to the ground, so I feel like they do have to be connected to something that could send the signal.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, I was really more talking about like, wouldn't the sound of bullets attract more?
Oh, yeah. If they have ears.
That's true. I don't know. Are there giant mushroom faces just one giant ear? Ears of corn, not ears of mushroom.
Oh my God.
That's not how the terminology works.
No. On to a more serious topic. The action.
Oh, the action. Oh, yeah.
It was, I felt like for what the show is and how realistic or whatever they want to be, the brutality of it, the also unelegantness of it is great. It's those attention to details that really, really drive it home.
And there's something to be said of like our two main, very stoic, very prepared, very, there are veteran characters in this world.
Freak out.
You freak out. Yeah. When you're faced with that danger and you're trying to survive like that, I thought Tess was doing pretty well, but then when she whirled around right into that mannequin, it took the whole thing down. Earlier in the episode, it's like, yeah, of course Ellie steps on a bone or whatever. She stepped on that crack. But to see Tess kind of fumble like that, it's like, that's how scary it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I think they did it really well. I love seeing Ellie kind of up into this point be the badass that she is, but sometimes overcompensating, but being stubborn and, saying any curse word on the sun. Asshole is one of my fuck. I love when she does that. But seeing her be like, nope, I'm very ill prepared for this type of thing. When she was crawling under the cabinets, getting away from him, that shot so good. As Joel and Tess are fighting the clickers away and she's trying to get away. Ooh, I'm so excited for how they're going to do the next 100 episodes of this.
I was happy that we got a scene like this because one of the reasons that I actually liked this episode was that we got to stick with the three of them. After the cold open, it was just their journey, which I appreciated because a lot of times in sort of dramas like this, we're always cutting away to different characters doing different things.
Right.
Like we didn't go back to the Fireflies. We didn't go back to Fedra trying to look for them.
Have you guys listened to our 1899 episodes? Trying to piece together all of those, like jumping around flashbacks,
exactly.
What reality? Yeah. I'm very happy to stick with them.
Both as a viewer and a podcaster, I appreciated this. But I liked being able to stay with them in this moment. But I do think that we needed this big action piece.
Yeah.
Because for a while, it was just them like trying different routes and kind of we were learning the history. It was a little, what is it, exponential?
Close.
What is
exposition.
Exposition. Damn it. I think exponential is math.
This episode got exponentially better.
Oh, yeah. Use
there
that.
You go.
That's perfect.
Use that. Cut the other out.
Yeah.
Just do exponentially better.
So, yeah. It okay, how about this? They really turned up the background information in a lot of this. So I like this very quiet sort of action-y scene where we really got a good look at the clickers too.
Yeah. Tess believing that Ellie is immune and trying to get that on Joel's side. I liked this a little bit more development with Tess in the show as opposed to the game because it is a little quicker in the game. They're around each other a little bit, but you're playing the game. So you're more fighting the stuff or getting around the stuff and not really experiencing how they feel or what they're really thinking. But Tess's mission for her very finite time in this show was to push Joel further into the journey. Unfortunately, she had to sacrifice herself to do that, but it almost needed to happen. Because if you think of somebody like Joel, they get to the Capitol. The Fireflies are not there. People are dead. Nobody to be found. They're not going to get their truck. What are they supposed to do? Tess still wants to go forward. She wants to see the bright side. She's like, well, we'll just take her then. We'll just go. She had to push Joel to believe that. He wasn't going to believe it. He still was aiming his gun at her.
Yeah, and I think that in this final scene that we have here, it's also revealed that at the museum, Tess is bit. Right? So she knows that this is her last chance to push him to do this. And one of the things that I thought was, I was like, whoa, was when she says to him something along the lines of, I didn't push you to feel the same way I felt.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn. So you know that she might have had more feelings for him and whatever their relationship was. And she never forced him to make it more than he was comfortable with. But now this last time she's pushing him.
Yeah, well, she tells him, I've never asked you for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just do this one thing. Also, what else are you doing?
You're already out here, Joel.
Yeah, do you want to
go back?
You gonna throw more bodies in a fire? Go, okay.
Okay. Go visit those ducks again at the hotel? I don't think so.
One of the glaring differences between this scene and the game is the infected weren't really the ones to like off her. It was Fedra. It was a bunch of dudes with guns. There's gunfire. She was bit. That is still the through line. But this send-off was so much better. I was hoping she'd be in it for one more episode. But again, we still needed that push for Joel to go do what he needed to do. But this send-off, it was so good. So good. The moment that Ellie is like, oh shit, she's infected. Joel, his emotion is great. I'm losing another person that we don't even really know how long they spent together. But it seems like they spent a lot of time together. He's losing that. He's having to grieve that and being like, I don't know what the hell to do. And now it's a bunch of zombies. Zombies are coming. They're zooming down.
They are zooming. Look, that little tendril on the floor said, wake up, everyone. I've got a treat for you.
Seeing those tendrils go in between the fingernails, I'm like, oh, I didn't need that. Well, that's fine.
We have to talk about the tendril French kiss.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All of those infected coming. Tess decides to stay back, put all the gas around, all the grenades, gonna blow all of them up.
Leave it to a Zippo.
This scene was just, but also like beautiful. And I don't want to not in oh, that's so sweet, they love each other. But it was such a weird way to infect somebody. Because they didn't bite them and then put the tendrils in there. They just she accepted it. So they didn't really need to tear her apart. We don't see that usually.
It was sad, wasn't it? That she knew it was over and there was almost a piece of her that was so frightened it couldn't fight back anymore.
Right.
It was over.
And she was also just trying to get that lighter.
That Zippo lighter.
You didn't check it, Tess, before you guys went out?
It works every fifth time.
Yeah. This was 50.
Oh, gosh, it's really broken.
Just thumb bleeding while she's trying.
One thing I thought of was excuse me, give them your pack.
Yeah.
Right?
No, there just wasn't time. He had a minute. He had to go.
You literally go, here, take this. Yeah. You throw it at them.
Yeah.
She had beef jerky, a flashlight, maybe a gun and some bullets.
Yeah.
That upset me.
Well, Ellie has all the sandwiches, so I don't think Joel was really wanting more jerky.
Artisanal.
Yeah.
That had sun-dried tomatoes, a pepper aioli, and some chicken.
Is it made on ciabatta bread?
It looked like a thick ciabatta. It was a Panera special.
The Fireflies had Panera staff still.
They're secretly running an underground Panera.
But all the mac and cheese is still in bags.
That's why it stays so fresh. They're in vacuum sealed
Hey,
sacks.
I love that sack of mac and cheese.
That mac and cheese, when it first comes out, it can melt the skin off your face.
Oh, yeah.
It is molten magma.
That's why the cups are lined with lead and the plates are adamantium.
And when they hand it to you, they have thick asbestos gloves on, handing it to
welder's
you
mask.
Exactly. They're a literal flame.
It's very hot. You know what's also hot? All those dead zombies that went in after Tess blew them up.
Crispy zombies.
Yeah, man, what a scene to have Ellie and Joel both experience that in different variations of their relationship with Tess, but Joel just being like, I'm going to Bill and Ted. He didn't even stop to look. He just went, and Ellie's standing there by herself like, oh, this is real. This can happen. Tess says a great line. It's one of my favorite lines so far in the show. It's so small, but it's good. She's talking to Ellie, and she's immune, but she's like, being immune doesn't mean you're immune from being ripped apart. Mm-hmm. And I think that sets something in Ellie. I'm not invincible. And definitely I'm not invincible because Tess just fucking died.
And not only is this show the journey of their relationship, of Joel and Ellie, but it's also Ellie becoming an adult.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's like she's going to have to experience really horrible things to make her realize how serious this actually is.
Yeah, and Spoiler, it gets worse.
Oh, you know, one thing,
Jeez.
it does get worse, especially, I don't know when we're going to learn her backstory.
Yeah.
Right? But Tess says to her, were you alone
Yeah.
when it happened? And
Ellie,
she lies and says no.
Yeah, Ellie is an interesting character in this episode. We get a little more of her, but we can tell that she's still hiding. But she's forthcoming with some of the stuff that she tells Joel and Tess that she was not supposed to. Granted, that was probably just plot reasons, but it's interesting. Maybe she just doesn't want to talk about something that really upset her.
Or is it that even in freaking apocalyptic America, homophobia still exists?
Stop.
And a kid can't come out of the goddamn closet.
Well, just wait until we get to Bill and Frank.
Oh, what are their names? Bill and Frank?
Yeah.
You said Bill and Ted before.
I did not.
And I was like, excellent adventure. Did they do that on purpose? I guess so.
I did not. Maybe I did. I mean, who else? Like, what other Bill duo is famous aside from Ted?
Bill and Ted, Bill and Clinton.
No, that's his name. That's not a duo. Well, now there's Bill and Frank.
I love it. Bill and Frank.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was exposition heavy. It was lore heavy, but I feel like we do need that. We need those types of moments to really invest us in this and make us believe that this is a real fleshed out thing.
Exponential exposition.
There you go. There's an exceptional amount of exposition. No, that doesn't work. I tried.
Oh, I liked it. We'll workshop it.
You knew where I was going.
Yeah. I do think for a sophomore episode that it did a good job.
Right.
Because as I mentioned in our last episode, I was a little worried that after the greatness of this first episode, it would have fallen off. Yes, it was a little quieter, but now we're out in the wild. Yeah, it feels a little more dangerous.
It does. And I like those moments that we did get with Tess talking to Ellie and Joel just listening. Those moments are nice. I don't know if that's just me knowing what the rest of the story might entail. And I'm just like, I like having these, I'm just savoring these nice little moments. And
you're savoring these tidbits,
these
bites.
Yeah, these little tiny things before all the zombies come in and just destroy everything. I mean, we need a trademark zombie.
Hashtag zombies.
There was a lot of zombies and they were running. That's what you call a zombie. A fast zombie is a zombie. We don't call them zombies, but we can call them zombies.
Yeah, because infecties doesn't sound as great.
Ew.
Zoomfection.
No. Man, just like zombies, we zoomed through that episode because it was great. It was great. It was short, but it was great. I'm very excited for the next one. Nick Offerman, which is one of my favorite people of all time, is in one of my favorite properties of all time.
Once again, playing a man of the earth.
I love it. I do love the shot that you get for, a special look at the next episode. And he's just in a plaid button-up shirt, tucked in to some acid wash jeans. I'm like, you're in a zombie apocalypse and you still are trying to look your best.
You could still start your shirts for sure. Why not?
He's giving off very like doomsday prepper vibes.
Oh, absolutely. And also isn't there like fencing around his compound or whatever? Yeah.
It was interesting that look to the next episodes. You can kind of tell that there might be an opening of Frank and Bill meeting or something, just because it looked a little disjointed or it looked earlier than. So I'm excited for that. I'm very excited. You know what else I'm not really. Okay, this is twofold. It's a double-edged sword.
Watch it.
Okay, so Derek is leaving me for like way too long, and he's not going to be here for us to record this episode because he has some work thing to do.
I have a work conference.
Okay, good excuse. He's like, I'm tired of this. So he won't be here, but we will have a special guest, and they're from one of our favorite podcasts. I'm very excited for this guest. Do I tell them? I can tell them. Okay, if you guys know Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast, there's one of them that's going to be joining. So we're having the podcasts and making one podcast. So we will still have the episode out next week, but Derek will unfortunately be replaced. For one episode.
Ouch.
But yes, that is what's happening.
Yeah, so I will not be here next week. I'm actually very sad to not be able to talk about this Nick Offerman episode.
Oh my God, that's right.
It just so happens that this is life and the timing didn't work out. But I will be back for episode 4. You better believe it.
Yes, I'm sure we will hear your thoughts on episode 3. I heard that episode 3 is a doozy, so I don't know what that means with the other 2 episodes we got.
I'm scared.
All right, well, see you next week.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Oh, bye.
Thanks for listening to A Bite of. Artwork and editing by our own Noah. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at A Bite of Pod, and on Facebook at A Bite of. If you have any questions, recommendations, or just want to say hi, you can contact us on abiteofpod.com. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to spread the word. See you next time on A Bite of. Bye.